Well, I guess the Philadelphia fans should boo Ben Simmons more often. You know what I'm saying? If that's what it takes to motivate him to play like the reigning rookie of the year, then that's what they should do. They should boo him. All right. And another thing about Ben Simmons complaining about Philadelphia fans booing him. Well, look, that's just how Philadelphia is. Okay. If you know anything about the history of the Philadelphia fan base, they are a very harsh group. Okay. Um, they booed Santa Claus one time. Okay. Uh, they booed every great player and great team you can think of when they did not perform up to expectations. This is not anything new, okay? And there's nothing special about you, Ben Simmons. They booed Julius Erving, all right? And this was after Julius Erving delivered a championship to the Sixers, okay? The last one that franchise ever won, all right? And I'm going to tell you another thing, too. I remember it was a segment not too long ago when Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman were talking about the history of the Sixers, right? And I remember someone asked them how many championships the Sixers had as a franchise. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Stephen A. Smith said one. Now, this is a guy who is supposed to be, a extremely knowledgeable sports analyst. And he said one. So you don't remember or even, you never read a Stephen A. about the 66-67 Philadelphia 76ers, 68-13 during the regular season, 81 games scheduled that year. You don't remember about that team? And then I understand people would know about those two championships, but then there was another championship back when they were still the Syracuse Nationals, which they won back in the 1950s. So this is one of the reasons why I understand why a guy like Ticket will say these guys don't know shit about basketball. I know one thing, a lot of these dudes definitely don't know about the history of the game. But anyway, if this is what it takes for Ben Simmons to play like an MVP caliber player, then so be it. Okay. Basically, to me, the difference in this game, and I said this in another video for another team. Matter of fact, I think it was the Brooklyn Nets. I think it was the first video I did about the playoffs. It's effort. Sometimes it's just as simple as that, man. Basketball is not all that complex. A lot of times, all it takes to win games is effort and knocking down shots. And that's what Philadelphia did this game. Is Ben Simmons was more aggressive offensively. All right. He was more aggressive in transition. He was more aggressive scoring in the post and in the paint. And he did a better job of setting up his teammates. And he did a better job of handling the ball and keeping down his turnovers. But the thing to me was Joel Embiid played better. Philadelphia did a better job making shots. Okay. That's pretty much it to me. That 51-point third quarter broke open this game. Totally broke open this game. And it's not necessarily that Brooklyn played terrible. It's just that defensively, and this is a problem with the league generally, but it's just that some nights it's worse than others. Defensively, some of these teams just have a terrible, terrible effort on defense, man. But some of it is just 3-point shooting, man. 3-point shooting has ultimately changed the game. When you have a spurt where you make a lot of threes, it can potentially blow a game wide open. I want to make a comparison about something right quick, okay? Back in the dead ball era in baseball, okay, in the dead ball era, this is pre-1920, the games were low scoring, very low scoring. It was a game more dominated by managing, coaching, strategy. You bunt here, sacrifice fly there, base hit there, steal the base here. It was slow planning on trying to score. And oftentimes these games were won 1-0, 2-1. Okay, a high scoring game was like 3-2, 4-2. That was a high scoring game back in the dead ball era. You know what I'm saying? Home runs were scarce. I remember one year Frank Home Run Baker led the league with like 11 home runs. Okay, this was a totally different era. And then comes Babe Ruth, all right? It's not that he invented the home run. He popularized the home run, all right? He started off as a pitcher. Then he started playing a little bit more, as a fielder. Then he played part-time player, part-time pitcher. Then he became just a full-time outfielder and hitter. And he just changed the game, It'll be 1-0, let's say, Giants, New York Giants, at the time they were in New York. Or Brooklyn. Well, no, New York Giants. They were New York Giants back then. And let's say the game was 1-0. And Babe Ruth would be like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to bust this bitch wide open. Boom. Hit a 3-1 homer. All of a sudden it's 3-1. And that fucked everything up. It started blowing games wide open. Guys started changing the game with one swing of the bat. And it totally changed the trajectory of baseball and how things were played. And then he popularized the home runs. Then you had other guys come after him. And the league just changed. It became an offensive era. And a lot of people at the time, the purists, they couldn't stand this shit. They hated Babe Ruth's guts. Okay? The purists hated Babe Ruth's guts. Ty Cobb couldn't stand Babe Ruth. He thought he was making a mockery of baseball. And the reason why I'm making this point is because a lot of people who are purists, and I'm a little bit of one, I like the 3-point shot, but I think it's too, I think it's just too ubiquitous now, man. I think it's everybody who is everybody shouldn't be shooting, 10 3-pointers a game individually, or teams shouldn't be shooting 40, 50, 60, 70 3-point attempts. I think it's ridiculous a little bit. But purists don't like it. But be it as it may, Stephen Curry, James Harden, they have changed how basketball is played now. They didn't invent the 3-point shot, but they've helped to further popularize it. And they've changed how the game is played because it has been successful for Stephen Curry and the Warriors. Okay? Now, the series is even up. I think Philadelphia won by the final score of 145 to, I think it was 122. Make sure I got that score correct. Yeah, I think it was 145, 142. And this evens the series up at 1-all. But, I'm seeing people saying, yeah, Philly's back. Yeah, people who thought Brooklyn, was going to win this series, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about and all this shit. Look, Brooklyn already did their job. Brooklyn split the series. The job for the team that has the home court advantage is to keep their home court advantage. Even though they evened the series up, okay, it's still 1-1 going to Brooklyn. So for Philly to really change this series, in my opinion, psychologically, they're going to have to win game 3. All right? Because if Brooklyn wins game 3 at home and sees a 2-1 advantage, then the pressure's on Philly to seize game 4. If they don't do that and Brooklyn goes up 3-1, in my opinion, at least, this series is over. So there's really still no pressure on Brooklyn. Brooklyn wasn't expected to win this series by most people, outside of Brooklyn Net fans. So, you know what I'm saying? That's my takeaway for game 2. Ben Simmons played a lot better. I think he had a triple-double. I think he had 18 points. I don't remember the numbers. Maybe something like 18 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists or something like that. Okay. But one thing that still troubles me about Philadelphia, and this high-scoring game kind of covered it up a little bit. I think it was the highest-scoring playoff game in the history of the Sixers franchise. One thing that still troubles me is Philadelphia's defense. It's still not very good. Okay, it's still not great, especially, in my opinion, their rotational defense. It's not good. And for a team that supposedly is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, that's one of the reasons why I think even if somehow they get past Brooklyn, I don't see them getting out of the second round of the playoffs. Okay? Their rotational defense isn't good. Their transitional defense isn't all that great. And this is the Brooklyn Nets we're talking about. Like, not to shit on them, but they're not the best team in the NBA. So this is why I don't see Philly getting out of at best the second round. And they got their work cut out for them in this series. I think game 3, like I said, will be very pivotal in this series. But tell me what you guys think.